The wind howled through the jagged rocks of Massabielle, slicing along the Gave des Pots river's edge in Lourdes, France. On February 11th, 1858, Bernadette Soubirous, a frail 14-year-old, stood shivering in a tattered shawl, her breath rasping with asthma's claw. Her dark eyes, shadowed by hunger, scanned the muddy bank for firewood, her boots sinking into the damp earth. Small and pale, her body bore the scars of cholera, yet she moved with quiet resolve. Her younger sister Toinette and a friend, Jean, trudged beside her, their chatter swallowed by the river's churn. A question lingered in the cold air, sharp as the winter's bite. What if this forgotten girl, mocked by her village, was chosen to unveil a divine secret that would draw millions to this desolate place? Bernadette knelt to gather twigs, her fingers numb, her cough echoing in the chill. The Soubirous family lived in poverty's grip, their home a former jail called the Cachot, its walls slick with mold, the air heavy with damp straw. Once millers, they had lost everything, evicted, reduced to odd jobs, 9 children packed into a single room. The hearth barely glowed, its embers failing to warm the dirt floor. Francois stumbled home late, his hands rough from hauling stones, his eyes hollow. "We'll eat tomorrow," he told Louise, his voice breaking as he slumped by the door. Bernadette watched, her heart heavy, as Louise whispered a rosary, her fingers trembling over the beads. Hunger gnawed them all, but Bernadette's faith burned steady, kindled by the parish church's flickering candles. She could barely read, her catechism lessons a struggle, but her prayers were fervent, her chipped wooden cross a constant comfort. At the tavern, Francois faced whispers. "Your girl's too sick to work," a merchant sneered, his mug slamming the table. Francois's jaw tightened, his pride stung. "She's stronger than she looks," he muttered, but doubt crept in. Bernadette, meanwhile, tended sheep when her health allowed, her small frame hunched against the wind. She loved the quiet hills, where she could pray alone, her rosary beads clicking softly. In 1850s France, rationalism clashed with faith, the church wrestling with a skeptical age. Lourdes was a backwater, its people worn by toil. Yet Bernadette's heart held a spark, a belief that God saw even the poorest. The grotto at Massabielle loomed ahead, a dark scar in the rock choked with brambles and refuse. Townsfolk called it a pigsty, unfit for prayers. Toinette and Jean splashed through a shallow stream, their laughter sharp, but Bernadette paused. Louise's warnings rang clear. Cold water could choke her lungs. She bent to untie her shoes, her fingers clumsy, when a warm breeze stirred, strange against the winter's edge. A soft light pulsed from the grotto's niche, faint, then growing, as if the stone glowed with hidden fire. Her heart thudded. A lady appeared, clothed in white, a blue sash at her waist, golden roses at her bare feet. Her face was serene, her eyes piercing yet gentle, seeing past her frailty to her soul. Fear and awe collided, her fingers tightening on her rosary. Was this a fever's trick? The lady smiled, a warmth that stilled the wind, and beckoned her closer. Bernadette knelt, her beads slipping through trembling hands. The lady held a rosary too, pearl and gold, and they prayed together, Hail Marys rising like a quiet stream. Toinette's calls to hurry faded, the world falling away. The vision lasted minutes, then the lady vanished, the grotto dimming to shadow. Bernadette stumbled home, her mind reeling. Toinette pestered her. Why had she knelt, staring at nothing? A lady in white, Bernadette murmured, her voice shaky. Toinette giggled, but Louise overheard, her face tightening in the cachot's dim light. No more grotto, she snapped, her hands twisting a rag, her eyes darting to the damp walls. Visions aren't for us. Her voice trembled, torn between fear for her daughter and a flicker of faith. Bernadette's gaze held a quiet fire, her heart pulled by the lady's call. On February 14, Bernadette slipped back to Massabielle, Toinette and Franz trailing. The town buzzed. Bernadette, the sickly miller's girl, chasing fancies. Madame Millet, a neighbor, muttered to a merchant, "She's stirring troll." The grotto stones glistened under a gray sky, and as Bernadette knelt, the light returned, the lady with it. "Come back for 15 days, she said, her voice clear like water over stone. Pray for sinners. Bernadette nodded, joy swelling, her cough fading in the lady's glow. Toinette tugged her sleeve, her voice low. "You're scaring me, Bernadette. What if it's not real?" Bernadette's eyes softened. "I have to keep going, Toinette. I don't know why she picked me." Toinette's face tightened, her doubt a weight. Word spread like wildfire. By the third vision, dozens crowded the grotto, their boots trampling the mud. A widow, clutching a rosary, whispered, "She sees something holy." A shopkeeper scoffed, "She's a sick child, nothing more." At school, Toinette faced jeers. A boy shoved her, sneering, "Your sister's crazy." Toinette's fists clenched, her voice sharp. "She's not lying." But her heart wavered, caught between loyalty and fear. The lady's requests grew, penance, prayer, a chapel. Bernadette repeated them, simple and sure, though their meaning eluded her. The town split, some seeing a prophet, others a fool. Father Paramal summoned Bernadette to his study, its air thick with candle smoke and old books. His gruff voice filled the room. "Who's this lady, child?" Bernadette stood small but steady. "She calls herself Aquero, Father," she said plainly. Paramal's eyes narrowed. "Prove it's not a lie." Her reply was soft, unyielding. "I just tell what I see." He dismissed her, but her calm rattled him. Another priest, Father Sempe, whispered doubts later, his voice low. "She's too simple for this to be a trick." Paramal paced, his candle flickering, his skepticism shaken. Commissioner Jacomet hauled her to his office, his desk cluttered, his breath sour with tobacco. "You're causing trouble, girl," he growled. "Admit it's a hoax, or I'll lock you up." Bernadette's hands trembled, but her voice held. "I can't deny what I see, sir." His threats, arrest, reform school, met her quiet resolve. He released her, frustrated, as her defiance spread. A pilgrim, new to Lourdes, watched her leave, murmuring, "There's truth in her eyes." By late February, The lady's words turned strange. "Go to the spring," she said during the sixth vision, pointing to the muddy floor. "Drink and wash." Bernadette hesitated, seeing only dirt, but obeyed, clawing the earth. Hundreds watched, some laughing, as she smeared mud on her face, sipping gritty water. "She's lost it," a man muttered. Days later, a clear stream flowed. A blind man bathed his eyes and saw. A mother's dying child stirred with life. Bernadette stood by, her cough worsening, refusing the water. "It's not for me," she told Toinette, her voice firm. Her pain was her offering, a prayer for sinners. Crowds swelled, their candles glowing in the dusk, prayers rising like smoke. On March 25th, the lady spoke, "I am the Immaculate Conception." Bernadette ran to Paramount, stumbling over the phrase, unaware it echoed an 1854 papal dogma. His face paled, his doubts cracking. The grotto was no longer a pigsty, but a beacon, drawing the hopeful and broken. Yet shadows loomed, skeptics, merchants, authorities, circling a girl whose faith defied their doubts. The lady's final visions neared, a test of Bernadette's heart. Would she hold to the light, or would the world's weight crush it? The spring at Massabielle ran clear now, its waters carving a path through the earth where Bernadette had scraped with muddy hands. By March 1858, the grotto was no longer a forgotten scar, but a living pulse, drawing hundreds each day to its jagged embrace. Their candles burned against the damp rock, shadows dancing as prayers rose in a tide of hope and need. Bernadette Soubirous, still 14, moved through the crowds with quiet steps, her dark eyes fixed on the niche where the lady in white appeared. Frail and coughing, her face pale under her shawl, she sought no miracles for herself. Her heart held a deeper call, to offer her pain for souls lost in darkness, a sacrifice born of the lady's words. The first healings came fast, like embers catching tinder. Bernadette stood by the spring one gray morning, her breath shallow, as Louis Bouriette, a quarryman blind for 20 years, knelt and splashed water on his eyes. He staggered back, blinking at the sky's blue, his hands trembling as he crossed himself. "I see," he whispered, his voice breaking. Bernadette's eyes widened, her heart racing, but she turned away, clutching her rosary. The miracle strengthened her resolve. She would not touch the water, not for herself. By April, whispers of healings raced beyond Lourdes, carried by pilgrims and papers. The spring, once mud and scorn, was now a font of wonder, its waters bottled and sent to distant towns. Yet skeptics loomed. Dr. Verghese, a local physician steeped in rationalism, tested the water, finding nothing but ordinary minerals. "Placebo," he wrote, dismissing the cures as delusion. Bernadette cared little for the clamor. The lady's visions continued, each one a clear command: pray, do penance, build the chapel. In one, her gaze sharpened, her voice soft but firm. "Offer your suffering," she said, her rosary gleaming. Bernadette nodded, her chest tight with asthma's claw. She ate less, her meals scraps of bread, her body weakening as her spirit steeled. Her mother, Louise, caught her skipping supper in the cachote's dim light, her voice breaking. "Bernadette, you're fading away," she said, her hands trembling. The girl's reply was soft, almost a sigh. "Mama, the lady meeds my pain for others." Louise turned away, torn between fear and awe, her hands clutching a tattered cloth. The crowds grew chaotic, their fervor spilling over. Merchants lined the path to the grotto, their stalls heavy with rosaries and trinkets, voices sharp with profit. Pilgrims pressed close, some begging Bernadette's touch, others thrusting sick children toward her. She recoiled, her voice sharp. "The spring's hers, not mine." The attention was a weight, each stare a reminder of her difference. Her family felt it too. Her father, Francois, faced jeers at the tavern, his pride stung by whispers of his mad daughter. Toinette, her younger sister, bore taunts at school, her fists clenched. One evening, by the Cachotte's hearth, Toinette grabbed Bernadette's arm, her voice low. "They call you crazy, and me the fool's sister. Why is she picking you?" Bernadette's eyes softened. "I don't know, Toinette, but I can't stop now." Toinette's face tightened, her own faith wavering, caught between loyalty and doubt. The authorities struck back. Mayor Lacadet, his mustache bristling, saw the grotto as a blight on order. He ordered wooden barricades built, blocking the spring. "Enough of this chaos," he barked in the town hall, his voice echoing. Pilgrims tore the planks down under moonlight, their hands raw but defiant. Commissioner Jacomet summoned Bernadette again, his office cramped, his desk littered with reports. "Stop this nonsense," he said, his finger jabbing. "Say it's a lie." Bernadette's hands clasped her rosary, her voice calm. "I just tell what I see." His threats, arrest, confinement, met her quiet strength, and he let her go, his frustration boiling as the town spoke of her defiance. Father Paramale, the parish priest, teetered between doubt and belief. He trudged to the grotto, his boots sinking in mud, watching Bernadette's face glow during a vision. In his study, lit by a flickering candle, he pressed her again. "Ask your lady for a sign, roses in winter, maybe." His tone was gruff, testing her. Bernadette relayed the request, but the lady only smiled, her silence a gentle rebuke. Paramale's skepticism wavered. Her simplicity, her ignorance of the Immaculate Conception dogma, gnawed at him. He confided to a fellow priest, his voice low, "She knows things no child should." The girl's calm, her lack of guile, was a puzzle he couldn't dismiss. The spring's miracles, like Bouriette's sight, drew sharper eyes. Doctors from Paris arrived, their tools gleaming with doubt. They tested the water, finding no healing properties, yet the cures persisted. Dr. Dozeau, a local skeptic, saw Bernadette's reaction to Bouriette's healing, her refusal to drink the water despite her cough. He scribbled in his journal, "Her faith defies reason." The church, cautious but intrigued, formed a commission in 1860. Its verdict clear by 1862. The visions were authentic, the lady the Virgin Mary. The healings, tied to Bernadette's obedience, were too sudden, too complete for chance. The spring was no longer hers, it belonged to the world. Bernadette sought no fame. The lady's final vision came on July 16, 1858, across the river, the grotto barred by planks. Her light burned brighter, her smile piercing the dusk. Bernadette wept, sensing the end, her heart heavy with love. The lady said nothing, only smiled and vanished. Bernadette returned to the cachot, the ladies called to penance sinking deeper. She refused the spring's water, even as her cough worsened, her bones aching. She said, "It's for others," to Toinette, her voice soft, as they sat by the hearth. Her pain was her prayer, a silent offering for sinners, as the lady had asked. Lourdes transformed, its streets crowded with pilgrims, its air thick with incense. Merchants sold vials of water, their pockets heavy. The church planned a chapel, its stones drawn from the river, as the lady wished. But Bernadette felt a different pull. In 1866, at 22, she left for the Sisters of Charity in Nevers, seeking silence over splendor. The train rattled north, her health frail, her heart steady. She carried no relics of Lourdes, only the lady's words carved like a prayer in her soul. The grotto's fame grew, pilgrims flocking by thousands, their stories of healing stacking like stones. The church's verdict spread, drawing the devout and curious alike. But Bernadette's path led to shadow, to a convent where her body would weaken, but her spirit endure. The spring flowed on, a testament to her visions, but her true offering was yet to come, a life of pain, given freely, for souls she'd never see. The convent in Nevers stood like a fortress of silence, its stone walls shutting out the clamor of Lourdes. In 1866, Bernadette Soubirous, 22 and frail, stepped through its gates, her black habit heavy on her thin shoulders, her cough a constant rasp. The Sisters of Charity greeted her as Sister Marie Bernard, their eyes flickering with curiosity. They knew she was the girl who saw the Virgin. But Bernadette sought no spotlight, only the quiet of prayer. The chapel's candles glowed softly, their flames trembling in the still air, incense curling like a whispered psalm. Her heart carried a brighter light, the lady's smile, her call to penance, a beacon through the pain that gnawed at her bones. Kneeling on the cold stone floor, her voice barely audible, she murmured, "My job is to suffer and pray." Life in the convent followed a rhythm of bells and devotion. Each dawn, Bernadette rose before light, her breath shallow as she shuffled to the chapel. She knelt, despite the fire in her knee, her rosary beads worn smooth from years of use. By day she worked in the infirmary, her hands steady as she bandaged sores or stirred broth for the sick. Her touch was gentle, her smile a quiet gift to those who groaned in their cots. She embroidered altar cloths, her needle weaving lilies and crosses, though each stitch sent pain shooting through her fingers. Tuberculosis clawed her lungs, and a tumor in her knee burned with every step, but she hid her suffering behind a soft laugh. God's work doesn't mind a limp, she told a young novice, her eyes glinting with humor. The sisters watched her closely. Their whispers divided them. Some saw a saint, her frailty a mark of holiness. Others doubted, wondering if her visions were fever dreams. Sister Claire, a stern woman with sharp eyes, questioned her one evening in the refectory, her voice low over the clink of spoons. "You speak of this lady, but what proof do we have?" Bernadette's reply was simple, her hands folded in her napkin. "I only saw what I saw, sister." Her humility disarmed them, but it was her endurance that stirred awe. She never spoke of Lourdes unless pressed, deflecting with a shrug. I'm just a broom God swept with, she said, her voice light but firm, as if the grotto were a distant memory. Her suffering grew heavier with time. By 1875, at 31, Bernadette could barely stand, her body wasting under disease's grip. The sisters carried her to the infirmary, their hands gentle but trembling. They urged her to pray for healing, to seek the spring's miracle she had unearthed. She shook her head, her voice steadied despite the pain. The water's for others, my pain is my offering. Her cot was narrow, the blanket threadbare, but her face held a peace that baffled them. Each cough was a prayer, each ache the gift for sinners' souls, woven into nights of sleepless agony. Her mother, Louise, visited in 1877, her face lined with worry as she sat by the cot. "Bernadette, why not drink the water?" she asked, her voice cracking, her hands clutching her thin wrist. Bernadette's eyes softened. Her reply was a whisper. "The lady gave it for sinners, Mama, not me." By 1879, at 35, Bernadette was a shadow, her breath shallow, her bones aflame with pain. The sisters gathered in the chapel, their prayers a low hum, as she lay in the infirmary clutching a crucifix. Her lips moved faintly, her voice a thread. "Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for me, a poor sinner." She died on April 16, serene despite the agony, her face calm as if the lady stood near. The sisters wept, folding her hands across her chest, their fingers brushing her still warm skin. They buried her simply in the convent garden, a wooden coffin, no embalming, only prayers. Lourdes roared with pilgrims, its spring a global wonder, but Bernadette's life ended in silence, her mission complete. In 1909, the church exhumed her body for canonization, driven by whispers of her holiness. In the convent's crypt, priests and sisters gathered, their lanterns casting jagged shadows on the stone. They pried open the coffin, expecting decay, the rot of 30 years. Instead, they gasped, their breath catching. Bernadette lay as if asleep, her skin soft, her face untouched by time. Her cheeks held a faint flush, her lips slightly parted, as if poised to speak the lady's words. Her habit was moldy, the rosary at her side rusted, but her body defied nature's law. Sister Claire, who had doubted, crossed herself, her eyes wide. "It's her," she whispered, her voice trembling. A priest, Father Martin, stood frozen, his lantern shaken as he murmured a prayer. In 1925, a second exhumation confirmed the miracle. Dr. Talon, a physician with steady hands, examined her, his fingers probing her arm, finding it pliable, her liver soft as if she'd died days ago. He scribbled in his notebook, his pen unsteady. No preservatives, no explanation. Dr. Comte, a skeptic with a sharp tongue, argued the coffin seal or dry soil might slow decay. He said, "Airtight wood, mineral-rich earth," his voice firm in the crypt's chill. But no theory held. Her organs stayed intact, her muscles supple, defying science's grasp. Dr. Comte's brow furrowed as he confided to Father Martin, "I can measure her flesh, but not her faith." The sisters nodded, seeing what he could not, a girl who gave all for others. The church saw a sign. In 1925, Bernadette's body was placed in a glass reliquary in Nevers, her face serene behind crystal, her hands folded over a new rosary. Pilgrims pressed their fingers to the glass, their prayers echoing hers, their eyes tracing her untouched features. Scientists returned, their instruments clicking, but found only mystery. Like the spring's healings, her incorrupt body was a bridge between earth and heaven, a testament to her visions. The reliquary glowed under candlelight, a silent witness to a life poured out for others. Lourdes by 2025 was a global sanctuary, its grotto drawing millions yearly. Their candles formed a glowing tide, their bottles heavy with spring water. The Medical Bureau, founded in 1883, had recorded 70 miracles. Healings like that of Marie Savoy, a paralyzed woman who walked after a bath in 1908, her crutches left by the grotto. Doctors, their faces stern, pored over x-rays and charts, ruling out all but the divine. Each case was tested, debated in sterile rooms, yet the cures stood, tied to the spring Bernadette dug in 1858. The chapel the lady requested rose tall, its spires sharp against the Pyrenees, its stones a testament to her obedience. Pilgrims, Catholic, Protestant, skeptic, knelt at the grotto, their prayers mingling with the river's murmur, drawn by water and wonder. Bernadette's refusal of the spring, her embrace of pain, stirred them. A young mother, her child healed, offered a candle for sinners, echoing Bernadette's sacrifice. An old man, his arthritis eased, prayed for his estranged son, inspired by her selflessness. Her story, once mocked as a child's fancy, was now a beacon, her suffering a path to redemption. In 1933, Pope Pius XI named her Saint Bernadette, her life a model of humility and sacrifice. The spring's miracles flowed on, each a ripple from the mud she clawed in 1858. Her body and nevers, untouched by decay, mirrored her visions, pure, enduring, a mystery wrapped in light. The grotto's candles burned bright, each flame a prayer answered or offered. Bernadette's life posed a question, as piercing as the lady's gaze. Have you ever sacrificed for someone else? Share your story in the comments below.